Hey, welcome back to Make This Path Straight. Hey, let's dig in today, huh? The previous lesson was on Sardis. This time, let's apply what we learned from that church to ourselves. And why would we do that? Because the church isn't a building, it's not a what. The church is actually a who. And so when we have these 6 verdicts that Jesus, as judge, looks at that church, it's not them, it's us. It's you and me. So let's see what we can learn from this church for ourselves and apply it. What was his verdict on their works? Well, they had works of hypocrisy. That's what we learned in our previous lesson, as we read through. So, are my words empty and without honor? That's a great question, Has my heart turned away from God? These are things that you and I need to think about. These are things that affect us. These are the introspections we need to overcome. Hey, if I'm being hypocritical, I need to face that, Do I see rote reverence as adequate? Ooh, that's a touching one, right? Hey, I'm going through the motions here. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I'm busy on a committee. Hey, hold on a minute. What are you doing inside your heart? What's happening in there, right? Do I just have rote reverence? Is that enough? That's a good question. What did Christ say to this church about praise? He said, well, there's a few with integrity, just a few. So the question for you and I then, have I soiled my garments then with the world? That's a good question. Do I do right when no one's looking? Do I have integrity? Am I willing to stand alone, to be among the few? With peer pressures out there, with all these influences from media, from all kind of entertainments, world values, societal norms, all these things affect us. Am I willing to stand alone, to be among the few like those brave souls, just the few of them that were at Sardis? How about what he had to say to them about rebuke? Does that apply to me? He said they had a lack of follow-through. That was his rebuke. What about Bob? Will Christ find my deeds completed? Will I follow through? Have I laid aside entangling sin? The scripture says that we could lay them aside. That means we got the chops, the power, the capacity to lay these things aside. But what it takes is obedient heart. Hey, I have to be willing. God's not going to rip our sin life from us. The sins are forgiven, but if I'm clinging to things, leading that double life, if I'm that guy, hey, am I willing to lay that stuff aside, And ultimately, do I see myself as accountable before Jesus? If I'm living this double life, if I think I'm doing things like I want to do and no one's going to get me, whoa, you're going to come face to face before Christ. What about what he had to say to them about, hey, this is what you need to do to get better? He said, wake up, strengthen the things that remain, which were about to die. That was his counsel. Well, what about me? Am I alert to the health of my faith? Do I know I need to wake up? Am I aware that things are atrophying in my spiritual walk, that things need to be strengthened, and that furthermore, without changing my path, that those things are about to die? Am I alert to the health of my faith? And do I know how to strengthen what remains? That's a great question. He says strengthen what remains. Well, how can we do that? Well, let me have a parenthesis here and offer a suggestion. Don't forget when David fought Goliath. He went to the brook and he pulled out 5 smooth stones. So let's review what these stones might be in a spiritual sense. Prayer. How am I doing in my prayer life? If I want to be strengthened on the inner man, I need to be a man of prayer. I got to get on the prayer bones. I got to talk to Jesus. How am I doing on prayer? Bible study. Do I create opportunities in my own life? Do I make it a priority to say I need to be reading the Bible? And I'm not talking about some podcast while you roll through town. I'm talking about sitting down in front of the Word. How about gathering together? Well, I don't feel like going to church today. It's okay. Hey, we need to be among other believers. Do not forsake yourselves, the gathering of yourselves together. Don't do it. Things happen in that environment, in that context, that cannot happen in any other context. How am I doing on gathering? 4th stone, serving. How much time do I make for serving other people? Is it just Bob time, just me time, that all that matters? Are those my priorities? Is that where my resources are going, my time, my money, my efforts in self? We're just supposed to serve others. If you want to be strengthened, if your goal is to be strengthened, you need to be serving. I need to be serving. And then 5thly, sharing. You know, we don't have to go walk around and give people Bible sandwiches here. It's always being ready to make a defense of the hope that lies within you. You have to live in such a way that people ask questions, and then you can defend how you are. But these five stones and these five reminders then might be a way for you to get a grip on and hold on to how God intends to strengthen. How do I strengthen what remains? You do those five things and you'll be strengthened, that's for sure. And then the question is, am I willing to be a disciple? Do I want to do it? Or I just soon live in this world and call that enough? Did he give any grave warnings to this church? Well, he sure did. Let's apply them to you and I, huh? He says, maintain vigilance. Am I looking to his coming in glory? Am I vigilant to say, I need to preserve this idea? He's coming back for me. Do I look forward to his return? How faithful am I in routine prayer? How faithful am I in routine Bible study? We have to be vigilant. To be vigilant, you put a guard on the wall, and they're protecting the city, and they're looking up. They have to be vigilant, but they also have to know right and wrong. They have to be strengthened in the inner man to know that what they're doing is important. What you are doing for the kingdom is very important. I can't do what you do. I don't hang out with the people you do. I don't have the circle of influence that you do. You got to be you in those areas. And so maintain your vigilance. That's the warning he gave them. It's the warning that he's given to you and I. What about to those who overcome? Well, really, it's the fulfillment of obedience. So how serious am I in leaving off my unpredictable, poor, earthly, societal values and leaving them off, huh? Will I overcome in order to gain the white garments he spoke of, in order to gain my name remaining in the book of life, in order to gain the confession of my name before the angels of God? Am I willing to be obedient in order to gain those things? That's what he challenged that church with. That's what he's challenging you and I with right now, huh? So that completes our lesson then on Sardis. Not only on the church itself in terms of instruction, but in terms of teaching, in terms of arrow shooting into our own hearts to become more obedient. Next time that we hook up together, we're going to move a little farther south and east to the town of Philadelphia. Only two more churches left, so that'll be lesson 113. The whole idea here is spiritual victory. That's what we want to do. That's the whole purpose of why we have this instruction, this message to the churches. Until we meet next time, may the Lord bless you as you